Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Duster Faith. Welcome to episode 2 of our Factorio playthrough. This is me on an island. And we have discovered that, again, because we're on an island, that we can't get off. So I've gone ahead and I've added a new mod called Landfill. Now, Landfill isn't what we need, because Landfill won't let us build a land bridge. We're basically in a big, so far as I can tell, a big giant lake. And I don't think we'll be able to fill the ocean. So there's another mod that allows for building of bridges, and I'm going to have to download that, but I won't do it yet. So what we're doing right now is we're still continuing. We're still putting together power. We're still getting... That's the radar, because I wanted to see how big the lake was. What the heck was going on, kind of thing. And I'm just kind of waiting. And the radar doesn't build things in automatically 100%. It kind of does it halfway, and there's other things. So I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to need to get electric furnaces, because coal is obviously limited on this island. So eventually what I'd like to do is go solar and use electric furnaces. So that way I can use the coal. Initially my thought is I'll use the coal just for the power plants. And that way I won't have to use it for burners and so forth. But I may actually have to build some solar plants as well. So my plan for now is to go ahead and just build what I need to get red and green and then blue science up and running. Obviously I cannot get purple science because I have no access to enemies. But when I do get the bridge building, whatchamdoozy, mod rolling, then I'll be able to do it. I'm also using a mod called Insane Resources by JG Games. He has a really good YouTube channel, JG Games, all one word. Don't put a space in there, you'll go somewhere else. Good stuff. I haven't really looked at his builds that much. I have been watching his YouTube channel. It's fairly entertaining. Arumba's got some interesting stuff as well, although lately I've been watching mostly Steejo, who is a Scottish YouTube gamer. What I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to figure out the best way to build the input, because the best way to do an input that I've found for throughput is to have coal and iron on the exact same line. And when you have that... Oh heck, I just had an idea while I'm watching this. Anyways... But so you run the materials on the outside, and then what happens is, let's see if I can make it work. You run the materials on the outside, then the input goes through the center of the build, and what that does is it makes it so that it's always slower to process than it is to feed. I guess that's the best way to put it. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to set things up beforehand, and I believe I'm going to measure in order to be able to fit iron, or I'm sorry, not iron, electrical furnaces, because if you just go with the basic furnaces and the steel furnaces, it's essentially 4 wide from input to exit belt. An electric furnace is actually, it's 3 by 3 instead of 2 by 2, so you actually have to arrange for that. Now I arranged for vertical height, but I didn't think about it, and I didn't arrange for horizontal height. So as you can see, I'm faced with a very limited space here. I do have good supplies of most things, but the trees are in the way, so I spent a lot of time chopping trees. And as you can see, I'm kind of I'm not the fastest. You're not going to, which is why I'm doing it at 4 speed. If you had to watch me do this at regular speed, you would snap. That's just kind of the way it is. And again, this is iron. Iron is always the first thing you build. You need it for everything. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to first sort of set up. Now, if you notice, the reason I would like to go and get away from... This is just me looking through the research, trying to plan what I need to do. And I can't actually get to electric furnaces until I get till I can research green science as well. And I have yet to build red science, or I mean a red science facility. Now the good thing is you'll always use red science. It's like a lot of things, you'll use red science forever, the same way you'll use, excuse me, the same way you will use iron forever and copper forever. Everything that you build on expands into later generations of materials and tools. You'll never get away from iron, you'll never get away from copper, you'll never get away from red science or anything else. In fact, a lot of things you have to build with old items. For example, I'm using yellow belt, which is the slowest belt, and it's actually not bad. You can go a long, long way with yellow belt. There's a lot of people will make everything red belt, but you don't have to. And again, I'm new at the game, so perhaps I'm speaking out of turn or out of ignorance. Excuse me. Wow. Perhaps I'm speaking out of ignorance, but it seems to me that a lot of assembly systems don't need red. You don't need red belts. Perhaps on the exit or the output belt. So I don't know. For basic terms, I guess you could say it's a feeder belts are the belts that, or you could say input belts are the belts where the supplies needed for building stuff are. So here I'm building my first assembly, which, believe it or not, is belts. I've decided that's the first thing I'm going to build from now on is belts, because it makes me crazy otherwise. One of the things you do is if you notice the little yellow striped industrial signal things there, those are underground belts, and they allow you to run material under stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm setting it up. Belts need gears and iron. However, I'm using the assembler to build the gears and then the iron. So basically I'm going to try and use the same space to do little things. So you get the assembler there, and that builds gears, which is the first thing I need. And second thing I need is more space. And I'm running over here checking out my research, because sometimes I look up and the research seems to be going real slowly. So what I have is I have resources going underneath. The cogs are being fed into the machine, and then I have them put in a box, and the box I filter off. One thing you'll notice me doing is I keep putting inserters the wrong way. It's maddening. It's something I do on a regular basis. I wish I didn't, but it's something I do. Again, new player. Heck, I don't even know all the shortcuts. I should put a piece of paper next to me, so every time I want to do something, I can go, oh, well, that's what I need. This microphoning picks up me adjusting things. So what I'm doing here is there's this little tiny, if you notice above the steel I have a much larger, above the iron, I'm sorry, I have a much larger patch of copper. Well, this little patch of copper is going to get in the way of my energy production, specifically the placement of my boilers here. And as you can see, I'm getting ready to build big boilers, or all of them. Boilers have there's a ratio, and the ratio is to get 100% optimization, you use 14 boilers, or I'm sorry, yeah, 14 boilers, 10 steam engines, and 1 water pump. However, there's a caveat. If you use 13 boilers, you get 99% efficiency. So is it really worth burning an extra piece of coal for 1%? I don't think so, so I build them with 13. It's up to you. I would say if you're going to build them with, if you're going to build them like a row of 7 and 7 to sort of shorten the feed, or the feed assembly for the, what do you call it? The feed assembly for the boilers, then I can see going 7 and 7 and whatever. I mean, that's how it works. So again, I'm trying to figure out, I'm doing a much smaller build for copper. Because again, my main thought is eventually I will go electric, and right now I'm only building for science. I'm only building to get science up and running. That's my only goal. So here you can see I'm putting them in, and by feeding it that way you can get the fuel and the material you're going to smelt all on one. And here's where I forget. Once you get a backup, the burners will actually store. So you don't have to use what I used to call a stash chest, but you don't have to use it anymore. And here I'm combining, I'm making what's called a bus. I'm sure you're very familiar with this, so I apologize. But a bus is when you take the most common materials and you put them on a row so everything that can use it. So far as I'm aware, it's a reference to electricity. I'll have to look that up later because I'd hate to look like a goofball. So it's real easy by building this this avenue of resources. It's very easy for you to. You don't have to build long, snaky contraptions. You kind of shunt everything off to the side if you want to build it, and if you need it for something else, you can put it onto the bus. So, for example, I have iron and then copper. I think next I put green circuits, and then I put steel. I used to toy around with adding like the gears. Like I'd make an entire row of gear production, and then. But it seems to be a little easier just to put a gear assembler in the assembly. It just seems because that way it makes it local. You're not having this big giant feeder of gears. And gears aren't something used for everything. They're used for industrial assemblies, but for manufacturing things, but not always. So you always don't need a ton of them. And again, trees. Now a lot of people hate trees, but here I don't care. I'll eventually what I'll do is right where I'm standing, I'll eventually build a little bit south of where I'm standing. Right now I'm building a green circuit factory. And again, I'm just playing with things and trying them out and so forth. And it's all spacing. And here I'm just taking off the main feed here, because why not? I've started the bus a little early, but the copper, there's really not a whole lot that I'm going to use copper for, but it's mostly circuits, green circuits. So here, green circuits require iron. So I am being a derp and putting iron down. And then I realized, oh, that's too close. So, yeah. Now, one of the things you can do is you can have inserters hand off to each other. It's kind of interesting, but there's some specific spacing for that. And you see, I'm learning everything here. You can see I'm just kind of goofing about. Not really goofing, but just trying to. Oh, that's right. I think what I'm trying to do is. All of the rail transport systems sort of rely on other things. For example, splitters and underground belts require belts as well as iron and gears. So it sort of behooves you to build. What am I building? Oh, that's right. I'm trying to build splitters, but I didn't realize you couldn't build them. So there I am trying to build more belts. It's all goofy. That's right. What I need to build splitters is I need a blue assembler, which is the second level of assembly machines there. So I obviously can't do it. I'm just like, really? Fine. I think at this point I reverse, because that's right. Originally I built that system just to build splitters. I wasn't actually going to build, what do you call it? I wasn't actually going to build gears yet. Green circuits, that's right. So I'm checking on my research because it's going so slow. Well, the reason it's going slow is I have one research thing. I have one laboratory, so to speak. So I think it's where I start building the resources. Yeah, this is where I start building the resources necessary to build red signs. So again, Here's where I decide I'm building I'm building underground belts. And again, I realize, so I'm looking to see what I need for blue assembly machines, I believe. There we go. Again, turning everything backwards. Okay, so now I'm building underground belts, which are fairly material intensive. One moment, please. One thing I didn't notice is I didn't realize the music would also be speeded up. And every once in a while you hear music pop in. It sounds almost like it's being played on a calliope, which makes me laugh. If you don't know what a calliope is, go look it up. They're pretty entertaining little instruments. So yeah, so I'm building red science. And what red science needs is it needs gears and copper plates. And that's it. You don't need, there's me saving, you don't need a lot to build it. Now what I did is I extended it just in case we needed more. That's all I'm doing if for some reason it can't keep up. The thing is, assemblers are very slow when it comes to building science. Eventually I'll upgrade to blue, but the last big playthrough I was doing on another computer, I don't think I ever upgraded to red, to blue assemblers. So yeah, okay. So I've decided it's time to put it on the bus. And there's me derping about again. Here we go. Just a goofy little loop. So, oh, that's right. I needed that because I need to build green science. In order to build green science, you need to build inserters. Green science is yellow transport belts, which you can see right there. I've already built, so those are very easy to build. But inserters take the same materials, but also green circuits. So right now I'm getting ready to build green science is essentially what I'm doing. And believe it or not, this is, when you're playing it and you're trying to figure things out, it's fascinating. And the reason I'm not doing commentary at the time I'm playing is there's a lot of times where I'm just slow as heck. And that's boring. Sorry, I'm checking, make sure my research is... It's like, is the baby breathing? Kind of. Those of you who are parents, you understand exactly what I'm saying when I say, you're looking at it going, I don't know if the baby's breathing kind of thing. And that's what I'm checking. So I'm going to start laying... did I put anything there? Oh, that's right. I move everything, because if it's off by one space... yeah, and that's how I am. And that's kind of the way you have to be in this game. Now I'm using, right now all I have are yellow inserters. The blue inserters are called fast inserters. And that's all I need right there. So here we go, I'm starting to build the red. These are the red science. I don't actually have to transfer anything over yet. Do-do-do. Yeah, there's a faster way to do that, but I figure for time speed, it's not going to be... it'll probably... Those of you who are playing this and are purists, they'll look at that and just cringe. And the cry of noob will echo throughout the halls, and that's fine. So I try to get 10 red science builders. Now, there's a difference between the different assembly machines. The blue assembly machines, you can put on them what are called productivity modules, which means you can make them either more efficient or less efficient, just merely based on you have to make the modules out of red circuits and green circuits, and you can build, there's 3 different types of modules. There's an efficiency module, which uses less power. I believe it's a little slower. Then there's productivity modules, which increase the speed at which they work, but it also uses more power. And then there's that's a speed module. There's a productivity module, which adds like an extra, oh gosh, what do you call it? It's like it adds an extra item every so often. I don't know how often it procs. If you're an RPG player and you know the term, but it has a time. So there's me setting things up. Go, go, go. Go, Speed Racer, go. So what I've done is I've created, because the south is going to be red, is going to be where I put the red science. And the north of it is where I'm going to put the green science. And if I recall, the very next thing I build is, I believe I have to expand the green circuits. And then I will go ahead and, what do I do? Ah, yes, I expand the green circuits. And then I have to start building the materials to create green science. And I believe this, yeah, this is where I just take it all down because I'm ready to transition into red science. I have a lab there. I have 2 labs, which is obviously twice as fast as 1. But I'm very quickly going to reach a point at which there's only so much science you can do with just red. So I'm very rapidly reaching the point where I'm not going to be able to do any more science without green. And I'm cutting trees down just to make room, and because cutting down trees helps me think. Maybe I'm some sort of lumberjack at heart. I don't know. It's entirely possible. Here's me trying to build stuff again. What I'm doing there is I'm building an impromptu balancer. Inserters, when they place stuff on a track, they always place it on the far side of the track from wherever they are. So you can, so you'll often end up with sort of a weird one-sided thing. So what I do by building that little loop is it doesn't balance equally. It doesn't. The throughput isn't equal, but at the same time, it does make it so that you can stack. And here we go. And that should be good for now. So there we go. As you can see, they're all going down on one side, and they're all fitting. And it's building up a backlog. Some people also call that the buffer. It is what it is. So I'm clearing room here again for green science. Verde. I don't know how to say science in Spanish. And this other column that I'm producing, the middle column right there, there's 4 science types. There's red, and from earliest to latest, there's red, green, blue, and purple. And purple you can only get by defeating aliens. So at some point I'm going to have to leave the island. And the only way to get this stuff, basically I'm going to use 2, the middle row, the gap in the middle, right above where the red is, eventually that's where the purple and blue are going to run when I create them. And you'll have to use a long-handled inserter to grab them, but that's not an issue. Science takes a certain amount of time, and so there's no rush to put science potions in the lab. Absolutely no rush at all. You just put them in, boom, done. That's me storing all the wood that I've built, because eventually what I'm going to do, I don't use it for burning. What I do is I use it for telephone poles. And the neat thing with stack size limits on a chest is when you've reached the limit, the assembly machines stop working if there's no place to put the product that is made. If you can't put the output anywhere, it won't make any more. So by putting a limit, you can say, I want 1 or 2 stacks of this item. So telephone poles go in stacks of 50, and I say, okay, I think I put in 2 stacks of 50, and we're good there. So those are 3 materials you need to get green science going right there. And I'm looking at the terraforming thing. So now I'm looking like, how do I do this? So there's my stone, what I have. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to a mine can output directly into an assembler. And so if you only need to do something like this, it's going to create stone. That's it. So it goes into the mine. Excuse me, the mine takes it directly out and puts it into... Oh, I just had another thought. Anyways, the mine mines it, puts it directly in the assembler. The assembler creates the landfill product out of stone. It takes 20 stone to create one landfill item, in which case the faster you fill it, the better. And then that gets put in a chest. And I walk away because I'm going to use it eventually to fill the lake up above, but not right now. So again, here's the green science. One of the things you need for green science is I'm now building the yellow conveyor belt, I guess is the best way to put it. And here's me making more room because I don't know how much room I'm going to need. And again, to make green science, you actually don't need a lot. It's surprising how little you actually need to make it. Now, if you're going to build a giant factory or you're doing science, if you want to make 100 science packs a second, obviously you're going to be producing ridiculous. Your support structure for your science packs is going to be ridiculous. But that's not what I'm here for right now. And I'm using the blue inserters because they are faster than the yellow inserters. That's me grabbing materials. I need all this. Because I'm crafting the assemblers in my backpack. I have yet to build a facility for actually creating assemblers for me. And this is the loop. What's going to happen is it's going to put them on the belt, and because they flow into different sides of the belt, they'll each be on one side of the belt, and we can go from there. It's all very exciting. And it's a very compact layout, which I like, and it'll feed easily 10 green science makers. And the more astute of you are going to notice that I put everything on backwards about 100 times. This is when I learned, oh, that shouldn't be there. It's interesting how things will feed into other things. So it's something I need to experiment with because the different ways stuff feeds into other stuff, you can kind of futz with it. There we go. I needed more space. More space. And I went, why can't I run them next to each other? So if you need more surface, you can always curve things around your assemblers, which is always pretty entertaining. So as you can see, using underground belts, you can avoid other things. So I'm just trying to. And what did I goof up? Oh, that's right. I put them on backwards because, well, that's what I do. Then I have to go through and go, what am I doing wrong? The thing I'm doing wrong is it's not getting any iron. There we go. Now it'll start working. Provided I move things. Sometimes when you have 2 items on a belt, it's best to put 2 inserters on it, just for speed. And as you can see, it's filling up very rapidly, admittedly. There we go. We've got green science rolling. And I guess we'll start researching more. And then the next thing I have to build is, obviously, more science. That's what I'm doing. Is these things are slow enough you don't need anything but yellow inserters. I mean, really, there's no benefit to using blue inserters other than getting them on the track that much faster. Now I'm trying to figure out where to put my poles and so forth because eventually I'm going to need to put the long-handed inserters so I can eventually get the blue and the purple science. And again, crafting a bunch of power poles in my backpack because I haven't built that yet. Here I'm checking my power levels, and I've noticed I'm running low on power. There we go. Connect the water. There we go. So we are at optimal. We are at 13 or at 99% efficiency. We're at 13 boilers, 10. What do you call them? 10 steam engines. Okay, and that's how you get the science in. That's how the science happens. Okay, and as you notice, it's because I'm not. If you look at the science labs, you'll notice until I'm researching, then it shows you what I'm doing. So I can kind of look and see what's my throughput for iron, and I need more because I'm going to start to expand. Now that I have green, I have to start looking at what else I can build. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for episode 2. I look forward to seeing you in episode 3. Have a good night, and bye-bye.